Hi everyone. So today we're going to be practicing our memoir writing. We're going to be picking a moment that is significant to us. It may not seem significant to other people, but to you it kind of stays in your memory. And we're going to practice writing a flash draft with it. So I'm going to model it for you here. This little setup with boxes is just to help your brain get back into those memories, to help you kind of brainstorm some of these ideas. So I call them free association boxes, things that you kind of associate in your mind that we will kind of draw out. So in the yellow, you're going to want to create your own piece of paper with this. You're going to start with people and then the moment. Oops, it should go like this. And then the issues. People, moment, and I'll fix that right now. Issues. And the issues are going to be really the theme, which is another word for kind of a thesis, but we use theme when we talk about narrative writing, memoir writing, or fiction writing. And so it's kind of like, why is this so important? Like, what did this tell you about yourself? What did this tell you about the world? How did it maybe shape your worldview or see things differently? Or maybe how do you look at this moment differently now, kind of as an adult versus perhaps when you were younger, even if it was a younger adult self? So I'm going to start here with my best friend, Nicole. Nicole and I grew up together since third grade. We were in Miss Weisleiter's class. Nicole's older brother and my older brother were kind of friends. They played football together. And Nicole and I looked a lot alike. We grew up in an area in South Chicago that was pretty mixed. So it was heavily black and heavily white. But for our little kind of neighborhood school, we were one of the only few kids who were kind of mixed. I'm half Mexican and half white, and she is half black and half white. And we look similar. So I'm going to pull this down so you can see. So here are Nicole and I. This was a few years ago when I was visiting back Chicago. We're still friends. So we still have kind of this curly hair, a little bit darker skin, just look similar. And I remember that as a kid, people would be like, oh, are you sisters? And we weren't, but sometimes we would lie and say we would. And one of the things we loved to do, we were obsessed with Disney, like obsessed with Disney. You can see that here. I had, of course, Winnie the Pooh birthday. I had this Tigger shirt, and Nicole had a Winnie the Pooh shirt, and we would like wear them together. You can see I had this great Disney with, you don't see them here, but they're green denim shorts because that was all the rage in the 90s to have denim that matched your colors. And we would, this was before CDs were out because I'm that old, we would get the cassettes of the songs for Disney. So like when Aladdin came out or Little Mermaid or The Lion King, I remember vividly getting these and listening to them over and over with Nicole, and we would make up songs, and or not songs, but we would make up dances, and we would just crowd around the room, and it was so much fun. We lived right next to each other, and then eventually she lived like right down the street, which was awesome. And we had this amazing friendship that still we have today. Sometimes we would play with our neighborhood friends. So this is Adam and Eric. Adam was my next door neighbor. He is this blonde boy with a North Carolina blue jacket. I vividly remember this. Eric was his best friend who lived around the corner, and that's who Nicole kind of had a crush on. And I remember us playing Spin the Bottle one day. Not like we were innocent enough to be playing it out in our front like driveway where everyone could see. So we must have been younger than junior high at this time. But of course, that was kind of our crushes at that moment. And that was the way things were in elementary school. It was awesome. We went up to sixth grade and we hung out all the time, this like crew of like 5 or 6 of us with a couple other girls and guys. And we thought we were like the ish, like everything was going well. Until we kind of hit middle school, and middle school was called junior high by us. It was 7th and 8th grade. And of course, all the elementary schools went to one junior high school. And I remember like being excited for the first day. I'm pretty sure we wore our Disney shirts the first day. I remember like getting all dressed up, but I didn't know, of course, how to do my hair or makeup or anything because I was in 7th grade. So my hair's pulled back and I have curly hair, as you can see, but I had no idea how to do it at the time. So I was very frizzy. And I just remember walking in to that moment and feeling like my world had changed, feeling like this is a new spot that I don't know where I'm going to belong. If you've ever seen Legally Blonde, like opening where it's like all of this like blonde hair and blonde, that's where I thought I was. I just saw these girls who looked so much older and different than me. They had on, Calvin Klein jeans and K-Swiss shoes and like Union Bay and like all of this stuff that I didn't even really know what it was at that moment. And I felt this like desire suddenly that like I was not good enough and I wanted to be like them. It all kind of like I don't know if it snowballed. I don't even know if this was, I believe this is seventh grade. There was always like twin day for Spirit Week. And Nicole and I were going to be twins, and we dressed up and we looked alike with our ponytails and our t-shirts and jeans. I remember coming to school and like there was this crew. It seemed like this mess of popular girls who all had light hair that had been straightened, and it was just beautiful, with the same t-shirt, the same jeans, the same shoes. And there was like 12 of them who were all twins together. And I just remember thinking, I wish I could be in that group. At that moment, I feel like I did like mentally go, I'm going to be a part of that. And I don't know if I thought that I was betraying Nicole at the time, but I feel like eventually that's kind of what it turned into. Although we discuss it now and she doesn't feel that way at all. So maybe that's just my viewpoint on it. And that's okay. As a memoir, this is my viewpoint. In eighth grade in middle school, we went to Washington, D.C. So you can see I'm kind of here now. And in Washington, D.C., we had, rooms with friends and everything. And there was this boy, Ryan. And I kind of liked Ryan, except Ryan was dating Jennifer, who was one of those kind of blonde, beautiful Crete girls. They all lived in like this one little area too. And I just remember being extremely jealous. I remember Ryan and I talking on the phone all one night, and like Jennifer found out and it was a big deal. And I was like embarrassed. And then Ryan gave me like his sweatshirt and like jacket to wear. And I like came home and was like wearing it, even though he was dating Jennifer. And it gave me like this status of like, yes, I am with someone, even if it doesn't say so. Kind of like, the old Facebook status. And eventually we started dating, Ryan and I. But in this mess of like eighth grade between freshman year, there was this whole other backstory coming on. I'm going to write it right here. John. So my mom, had remarried, and at age 14 she'd married this guy John, who I felt like they had dated for like 3 months and suddenly got married. It was longer than that, but in my childlike mind, that's what I thought. And when she married John, we had to move to a new house. So I'm going to put moved. And where did we move? We moved to Crete, that one location where all of those girls lived. And I didn't know it at the time, but what I was kind of seeing and what I was also kind of viewing was a different kind of status, a socioeconomic status. So that's what's called now when it's kind of like the middle class or the working class or like the higher class. It's called socioeconomic status, also known as SES. And I didn't realize it, but Nicole and I came from kind of a lower, poor, working class type of area. And then when my mom married this guy, John, we moved to Crete, which everyone seemed to have money. Now that I'm an adult, I know that it was more middle class, but where I was coming from, it seemed like everyone was rich. People had like swimming pools and there was a golf course, and it was just a very different place than where I had grown up with. And so over here, I'm going to put like money, SES, did my brain something. When we ended up moving, that was also my freshman year. Nicole and I both were going to the same high school, and all these other girls were too. And Nicole and I both tried out for two things. We tried out for cheer and we tried out for show choir. She made show choir and I made cheer. And I feel like that's when our paths really split, because you know how it is in high school where every day you're doing something with kind of that same crew. Well, Nicole was with show choir all the time and I was with the cheer girls all the time. And slowly kind of through high school, we still called each other best friends, and we still were absolutely best friends, but we just hung out with different crowds, and that was really hard. So I'm going to pause here, and then there's going to be another video a little bit about my writing and the process I'm going to go through with that. I decided to just throw it on this one instead because I think it'll be there. So here I am. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a timer, and I'm going to tell myself I'm going to write for about 7-10 minutes here. And I'm going to write kind of live in front of you. And that's what I would kind of do in the classroom, have us all write. I don't want to make you watch this for 5 minutes though, but I want to read to you what I have here. And as I read to you, you can see a little bit of my thought process, and you can see my writing's really messy because here we're kind of pulling memories and ideas. So it says, as I walked into Crete Middle School, I was overwhelmed. Sound, they looked different than me. Sight, it seemed that everyone knew each other. Action, they'd all shopped at the same stores. Nicole and I looked at each other and she smiled reassuringly, but all I could see was we were out of place. At Talala Elementary, we were it. We were the cool girls. We wore the right clothes. We were the trendsetters. But what did we wear, right? But 5 minutes into middle school, I knew it had all changed. It came to a head on Spirit Week on Twin Day. So if you're curious what these big kind of words are, sight, action, sound, those are little notes to myself as I write to like go back and add those things later. And we'll be working on that as a class. You don't have to write notes to yourself. That's just part of my writing style. Nicole and I would be twins, of course. We'd always done it. We'd planned our outfits, jeans and Winnie the Pooh shirts, Pooh for me, Tigger for her. Our matching coats were already established after last year's family day vacation to Disney World. We were set. So this was a quick minute flash write, 5 minutes, kind of getting some ideas down on the page. That's all I'm asking you to do. As you can see, if you kind of look through, I'm going to be adding some things to this, and we are going to be adding some things as a class. But all I'm looking for is kind of a short blurb of like, what is this moment about? This is also to test whether or not you want to write about this. Sometimes we have this great idea and then we try to write and we're like, this is not the idea. And then other times we find ideas that we didn't even realize we could write. So that's what I'm going to have you practice tonight to do, is you're going to be creating kind of this little box and then writing. Just like I talked through what I was going to do, I highly encourage you to talk through what you're going to do. You don't even have to talk to anyone. It can be a pet, it can be a plant, it can be your kid, it can be your partner, like whoever it is, it doesn't matter. But talking through really helps solidify that story and makes you remember things before you write. So that's my helpful tip for today. So go ahead and get writing, and I look forward to hearing all about your stories.